Thanks so much, sir, for coming on the program tonight. Great talking to you.
Absolutely. Once again, welcome back to the Second Amendment Battleground State,
where the laws are so vague and contradictory that even law enforcement officers can run afoul of them.
Absolutely. You know, we've talked about it many times, but, Massachusetts gun laws are so difficult to understand. You know, there's actually a retired chief that makes a side living out of publishing a 400-page book and giving 8-hour seminars to law enforcement officers to learn how to begin to understand the Massachusetts gun laws. So I guess they need a little bit more seminars, I guess.
I guess so. Now, this is an officer from Braintree, Massachusetts, who is now facing some really serious charges, in essence, because his son gave him a gun as a gift.
Appears to be. And the problem is, here in Massachusetts, if you recall, we actually talked on the show, I guess it was early last summer, when the Executive Office of Public Safety put out an unsigned, undated advisory letter on the so-called exemptions for law enforcement officers as it pertains to so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And for the first time since 1998, when the law was put in place, there has always been an exemption for law enforcement officers possessing these items. And in that unsigned, undated letter, the Executive Office of Public Safety for the first time came out and said that that wasn't the case. They could only possess those items on the job and were not allowed to own these things personally. So we were obviously concerned, both for our gold members and law enforcement officers, probably thousands of which over the course of the last, 13 years, have bought these items legally from licensed retailers thinking they were perfectly fine.
Right.
And now this summer we're told by EOPS that they weren't fine. But, of course, there was no documentation from EOPS to back it up. But now apparently they're enforcing it.
You know, and so as I'm reading this this news story here, Mr. Donald Curtin is the Braintree officer who's pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of illegal transfer possession of a quote-unquote assault weapon, 1 count of a subsequent charge of illegal transfer possession of a quote-unquote assault weapon, and 2 counts of improper storage of a large-capacity firearm. Jim, the storage laws in Massachusetts, I know that you and I have gone over them before. They're just as weird as the rest of the gun laws in the state.
Yeah, we've been through this a lot, and we've actually been to court on it a couple of times. And the problem is, according to Massachusetts gun laws, this technical language involved. But basically what it says is unless the firearm is under your direct control, then it has to be equipped either with a trigger lock or locked in a case or a safe of some sort. But the main issue has been what is under your direct control. Is it in your house? Is it in the room? And when it went to court here in Massachusetts, the court really couldn't determine that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still very vague. Now, you got a police officer who, I guess in this case, put it in a cabinet over the refrigerator. Is that under his direct control? I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be allowed to do that, and if you have small children, you got to make that decision one way or the other. But,
right.
Here's a police officer whose gun was apparently then taken by his fiancée and hidden in a boot somewhere in the house. And Massachusetts laws and courts are going to look on that not so favorably. And I guess supposedly the so-called assault weapon he had too was wrapped up in a blanket somewhere. So there's a lot of issues here with a police officer apparently not knowing the storage laws. But then the other angle is he actually going to be formally? Well, I guess he's been charged, but is he going to be held accountable to the new EOPS letter that came out this year? And we're going to have to really watch this one closely to see how the courts are going to handle it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, too, Cam, there's always that edge of this when it's a law enforcement officer, and, we don't want to see anybody do wrong, but there's always that edge that, the general public doesn't want to see them held to a different standard. And we've actually been starting to see that more in Massachusetts, where law enforcement is getting in trouble regardless of what it is. And the public opinion starts to become that, well, if it's law enforcement, they'll sweep it under the rug. If it was us, we'd be in prison now. So, you're also fighting that kind of problem.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Jim, I appreciate you coming on the program talking about it, sir. We'll keep following the case there in Braintree and look forward to having you back on again soon.
Looking forward to St. Louis. making my plane reservations now.
Fantastic.
So sounds good.
All right, thanks, Jim. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.